Welcome to another Roll for Crit News Roundup. And this week, the big story, the Golden Geek Awards are out. Let's see who are the winners and losers, as well as anything else that happened in the world of tabletop gaming for May 20th, 2024. We gotta start off with the big story, and that is, of course, the Golden Geek Awards. We talked a little bit how the nominees were out, but now the official winners have been declared. So let's go over each category and not only see who won the award, but as well as the nominees that just came so close to taking it this year. So we've got 15 awards to go through. So starting off, we've got Print and Play, Party, and War Game. I don't tend to play too many Print and Plays, so I can't comment too much on these, but the winner here is going to Waypoints. I can definitely see how this works as Print and Play, as you're basically printing out maps and hiking your way through many different terrains. Then for Party Game, we've got two games that I know of, and then one that, at least to me, I didn't know too much about. The winner is going to That's Not a Hat. I just recently played a few months back, and I can definitely see why it won. Things can get really hectic, and it can be very hilarious. Dixit, though, obviously, it's one of my favorite games. I tend to prefer the non-licensed idea, as I like sort of the imaginative and sort of the people having to think a bit harder than obviously seeing maybe a character you recognize from a property. So nothing against Disney Dixit, but I think I'm going to prefer some of the older sets. Then finally, there was Nikojima, which I didn't really know anything about, but based on what I've seen, it looks to be a fun dexterity game, so definitely something I'm curious to try out. Finally, war games are not something I usually play, but I did play Undaunted Battle of Britain, and I absolutely loved it. I can see why it won and how I really need to get into more of the Undaunted series. That is nothing to say against the runner-ups. I just have not played them or experienced them anyway. My game group just doesn't like war games too much, so I can't comment too much on the runner-ups here. Then we're going to go to games of whether you want to play 1, 2, or just play with your friends. And here we can already see Sky Team did very well, winning both the 2-player game and the cooperative game. Unfortunately, I don't have experience with Sky Team. I have more experience with the games that are runner-ups. Now, for a 2-player game, I already talked about Undaunted. I really like that game. It's definitely a fun head-to-head. And as well as Star Wars deck building, I think it was fun, but I definitely feel it needs that expansion that supposedly you'll be able to try out this Gen Con. As for the cooperative game, I feel bad for Earthborn Rangers, as it's not only runner-up here, but for solo as well. That being said, I do enjoy Earthborn Rangers a lot, but I can imagine a campaign game, it's much harder to feel like you're getting into it, when something like Sky Team feels a bit more of something you can have hit the table when you and your partner are just feeling in the mood for a quick gaming session. Now, Sleeping Gods, once again, another campaign game, and it's more of building off the originals, so I can imagine Sky Team, something that feels a bit more new and fresh, being able to beat it out. And then for solo games, of course, Legacy of You is literally only be able to play solo, so it's no surprise to me that it beat out the other two. I've currently picked up my own copy of Legacy of You, and will hopefully have my own thoughts on it a little bit later once I have some more play sessions under my belt. Next up, though, we've got games that did something different to the table, either looking really pretty, having a great theme, or maybe just doing something different. Of course, with artwork presentation, innovative, and thematic game. Here, Hegemony definitely came up on top, and it's not done. Once again, Earth is a runner-up here, which don't feel too bad. It's going to win something a little bit later. But in terms of the category it was in, it lost to the Castles of Burgundy for artwork presentation. This, of course, is the version that is of its super deluxe edition, trying to make it look as pretty and beautiful as possible. So basically, this better be the best this game can look. In terms of innovation, once again, I haven't played Sky Team or I haven't played Hegemony either, which is going to be something that bites me in the butt. But Earthborn Rangers here again, I feel so bad for it. It did a lot of runner-ups, not winning, but definitely at the very least, people will give it a chance knowing it came close to winning an award. But this is probably the most interesting area for me, and the fact that two of these games I haven't played pop up quite a bit during this conversation are probably signs that I really need to try these games out as quickly as possible. Then for thematic, Hegemony and Sky Team appear again. Once again, Hegemony being able to edge out Sky Team, though this time Dune Imperium Uprising is here. This is the standalone expansion for Dune Imperium, and maybe because of that, it lost a little bit of its shine, which is why Hegemony was able to beat it for the win. Then we're going to look at 3 awards for those who want to get deeper into board gaming, and that's with podcasts, expansions for your game, as well as games to play on your phone through apps. Well, for best podcast, One Shop Co-op Shop is the winner, and definitely a great place to go if you enjoy co-op games. That doesn't mean, though, you shouldn't check out the runner-ups, Talk Cardboard and Beyond Solitaire. Definitely a great award for you to just check out anyone nominated here, because it's always a good place for you to just check out where else you can hear about board games. Then for expansions, we've got 3 expansions to 3 very popular games: Cascadia, Lost Ruins of Arnak, and Ark Nova. This is another one I played the runner-ups, but not the winner. And I can say at very least for the runner-ups, Cascadia, standalone, can be played, but can be mixed, very fun. I do think Lost Ruins of Arnak, I'm currently going through the campaign, should hopefully finish very soon, but I like the idea that they made it so even if you don't like the campaign-style gameplay, almost everything included in it can be played in regular games. However, Ark Nova, very popular. I enjoyed it a lot as well, so I can't be surprised that the C version would be able to take the win here. Finally, for best board game apps, Unmatched makes perfect sense. Beautiful art, being able to play it digitally. I'm sure a lot of people are really excited to play this. Though I do know that certain groups will never appear in there that are in the physical version due to licensing reasons. However, that may mean we may see digital exclusive heroes for Unmatched later on. The runner-ups though, Twilight Struggle, Red Sea, as well as Fleet the Dice Game. Also some other fun apps that you may want to download. However, let's get to the probably always the most talked about awards, and that's the light, medium, and heavy game of the year. Now, this is where things get interesting. First, with Light Game of the Year, we've got Thunder Road Vendetta, which for the American Tabletop Awards won a much heavier Game of the Year award. This just goes to show you how, depending on where you are, this game can be viewed as much heavier or lighter, depending on the audience. And with Golden Geek being obviously much more skewed to heavy board game players, it means games are probably going to be much lighter than maybe how some other people, especially those newer to the hobby, may view them. I've not played any of the games, unfortunately, whether the winner here with Thunder Road or the nominees. That said, the person who usually buys all the Restoration games didn't pick up this one. I may have to ask him if he's going to grab this now that it's won 2 separate different awards. And then for Medium Game of the Year, we've got Earth was able to win an award here. So at least, even though it was nominated for other things, it did win one of the big awards. So congratulations there. The runner-ups, Castles of Burgundy, as well as the White Castle, which, once again, White Castle won the heaviest award, if I recall correctly, for the American Tabletop Awards. So just funny how everything shifts over a little bit. I have played some Earth, and I will fully admit I wasn't absolutely in love compared to other people about this, and maybe I'll share those thoughts later on in a review. Finally, Hegemony wins Heavy Game of the Year, bringing it to a total of 3 wins, quite impressive, beating out Dune Imperium Uprising again, and Darwin's Journey. I have played Dune Imperium as well as a little bit of Uprising, and I know that is a beloved game, so it is impressive that Hegemony was able to beat it out. Once again, definitely going to need to try this one out. So I would say the 2 big winners here this year are Hegemony, which took home 3 wins, and Sky Team, which took home 2 wins, but was also nominated for 2 other awards, so could have possibly beat Hegemony with a total of 4 awards. But you can let me know your thoughts, what you thought should have won, or if the winners were appropriate. I'd love to hear everything you have to say, of course, in the comments down below. Now on to some not so great news. Game Market, which is actually a website as well as a company that runs 3 very large board gaming events in Japan, was recently hacked. It turned out that a lot of their images from past events or games were basically replaced with other weird ones. They just said the exact word was fraudulent ones. I don't know if that means like meme joke ones, mixing them up or whatever. But it turns out in total that they have lost over 10,000 images from past events, games, board game cafes, and other board game related businesses. They're currently trying to work to restore these images. They're mostly archived images from past events, games, but they didn't seem to have a backup. So unfortunately, this is going to be a lot more legwork with them also asking other businesses or people if they may have images that they can use to restore their archives. Now, this company was actually founded back in 2010 by ArcLight, which we actually talked about a little bit while ago as they were purchased by the Kodawa Group to try to expand and combine more of the other Japanese manga and visual novels into board gaming and vice versa. But with this merger, this hacking sucks even more, as it means it just causes another issue for them to try and solve in order to try to bring maybe some of these Japanese games out into a more international market, as well as grow the board game market within Japan. But hopefully they'll be able to restore a reasonable amount of these images to not make the loss too great. So this is an interesting one involving the legality of board games. You may have heard of Archon's Master of the Universe Battleground based on He-Man. It's currently on GameFound, but they recently announced that while you'll be able to get the game if you live in North America, if you back it, they're not actually going to be able to sell the game to retailers. Not because they don't want to, but rather it seems there is a licensing issue. So if you're in Europe, you'll be able to actually buy this game in stores. However, in North America, unless it's had a used marketplace and not part of the official retail chain, you're not going to be able to pick up this game. This is another one of those times where it's interesting how there are certain games. I know Star Wars is a big one with how they spread out their licenses, not only just within countries, but also like this company can only do card games, but this one can do miniatures, things of that nature. And it makes things a bit more complicated to how you're actually able to acquire the game. Regardless, if you are interested in this and you live in North America, do know that if you don't back it now, it will be a bit more complicated for legal reasons at the very least, not just for simple company greed. Now, the final story I want to quickly mention on is actually a ban for Magic the Gathering. I don't usually go over these because they're not usually that interesting unless you're really deep into Magic. But I think this one has to do a lot more with the production and what we view in the marketplace in general, and also the idea of just trying to hop on trends or even, try to get more money out of your player base. Recently, they announced in all their Eternal, Vintage, and Legacy game formats, they are banning basically all the cards that have attractions and stickers, basically the core aspect of their last joke set. Now, you may assume that a joke set wouldn't be legal in the first place, and you would have been mostly right. Over the years, Magic has released joke sets, usually starting with such as Unhinged, and the last one being Unfinity. Now, all the ones previously actually had a silver border to denote basically that they are joke sets. And for the most part, if something had a silver border, it meant it was illegal in basically all formats that weren't kitchen table. However, the last set was black border with only some cards in there being illegal, denoted by an acorn symbol on the bottom, but that also wasn't very clear. The reasoning behind this is basically Commander. They knew that Commander players are more likely to buy a product if they can use it, and therefore they wanted to make sure that they actually felt a reason to buy this, as they wanted to put cards in here that would be useful in Commander. But of course, if it's useful in Commander, it probably means it's also playable in other sets. In particular, Legacy, Eternal, Vintage share a very similar card pool to Commander, so these cards were available in there as well. But the joke theme here, compared to previous unsets, was the idea of it's based on a space circus, and that you'll be having cards with stickers as well as attractions, a separate deck that you'll be able to bring into play if something says you can open an attraction. Problem is, of course, you can imagine what this means of adding stickers to cards. In particular, there was one card, Blank Goblin, which not only meant that people playing it would have to bring stickers, but if you ever did anything that allowed you to gain control or copy the goblin, you need to have your own stickers. So that means other people would need to bring stickers and attractions, making there just to be a huge mess of what you can bring in, making things more complicated. It just goes to show the intention of trying to come up with something fun and interesting. If you try to make it legal because you want more people to buy it, well, then it's just going to cause a lot of mess for all the other formats. So I just found this to be very interesting, as it was a very much larger wide ban versus usually in Magic, you usually see a few cards here and there banned rather than a whole archetype. We'll see what this means for the future of joke sets. Either they'll return to silver border, or unfortunately more likely, they'll be less inclined to actually make a joke set because it's neither profitable enough to make the set where it's silver border but can't be used for outside the kitchen table, nor can they make it jokey enough but also legal and desirable in all the other Magic formats. Now on to game announcements. First, we have a new Lord of the Rings game, though not from a company I expected. The Lord of the Rings Quest to Mount Doom is actually from Games Workshop, and is actually a competitive game when you'll be racing to see who can destroy the ring first. That'll be coming out May 25th. Then we have a new edition of Talisman. Funny enough, the first edition came from Games Workshop. This time, it's going to be coming from Avalon Hill. This 5th edition should be coming out sometime this summer. Then we've got a Terraria board game. This is actually already announced, so people who are probably excited about this already know. However, if you didn't know about it, it's actually going to be coming to Kickstarter very soon, probably around May 28th. Then we have once again, just a picture, another leak of an expansion, and this one for Acropolis, and it seems to be titled Acropolis Athena. From the picture, it looks like there's going to be new stacks and probably monuments you can build to the gods. Maybe just Athena, or maybe the rest of the Pantheon as well. Then we've got an interesting one from the designer of Cosmic Frog, a heavy game about playing as, cosmic frogs, redesigning the universe by eating it and spitting it out. This time, though, it's going to be a bit more of a take that one, and it's titled Murray the A-Hole Frog. I don't know if that's the official name of it, as the frog seems to be eating some of the letters in the word, but that's what we're going to go with for now. This is going to be, as I said, a take that game, and you'll be able to try this out this Gen Con. But that is the news this week. Obviously, the big story being the Board Game Geek Awards. Let me know your thoughts, like I said before, on these awards, who you thought won, what were your favorite games of last year. I can't wait to see what you have to say. But for now, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time on the News Roundup.